Winning the War in Your Mind by Craig Groeschel. Few key points from chapter 1. It's a very interesting book. So, chapter 1 is called As Perception is Reality. And here he begins with a very beautiful story that explains the condition of the human mind for many of us. So, he talks about his friend Kevin. So, my friend Kevin served on our church staff as one of our pastors for close to 20 years before retiring. Way back in the early days, our staff used to play a game called Capture the Flag in our storefront church offices. We occasionally got violent as players tried to seize the flag, but because we were pastors, we were asked not to do so. Eventually, however, two people ended up getting injured, and so we had to establish some guidelines. One of those rules was no attacks before 8. I tend to get to work early, and one day I showed up at around 7 and began walking to my office. And suddenly, my spider sense went off. Something wasn't right. I was suspecting a threat. I threw open a closet door to find Pastor Kevin, who's his friend for about 20 years, was actually hiding. I don't know if he had spent the entire night in there, but his plan was to wait patiently for a surprise attack. Okay, and so this is all part of a game. But thanks to my superhero ability, writes Craig, to detect danger, I thwarted his plan. I was so excited that I slammed the door shut, wedged my foot against the bottom, and yelled triumphantly, "You're going to spend the day in the closet, Kevin." So basically, he closed the door so that Kevin cannot escape. I grabbed a chair to secure my prisoner. Chuckling maniacally, I said, "I'm putting a chair under the doorknob." So Craig told Kevin that he's putting a chair under the doorknob. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get the chair to fit. And because I couldn't move my foot from the door, there was nothing I could do to lock Kevin inside the closet. Fortunately for me, I realized he didn't know that the door is unlocked. Kevin didn't know that the door is unlocked. All through the while, Kevin was under the assumption that the door is locked. So, with all the fake confidence I could muster, I sold it. "There's now a chair under the doorknob, Kevin. You cannot get out." Yes, I lied, but I'm a pastor, so it was wholly lying. It's a joke. Well, what did Kevin do? More like, what did he not do? He never tried to open the door because all through he was believing the lie that the door is closed. And this is what is the premise that Pastor Craig Groeschel actually sets the premise to this book. And so the chapter actually begins like this. It's quite interesting. And he begins to explain what is a self-made prison. Are we as human beings living in self-made prison? Children of God living in self-made prison? A prison of narratives. We have created narratives with the words other people have spoken, or our own heart has spoken, or whatever it is. A narrative has been created inside the mind, and the mind is stuck within this narrative. Have you considered that you might be trapped in a self-made prison? And then another point comes like this: remove the lie and replace it with the truth. Okay, and your mind is a battlefield. We are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and principalities and authorities of the unseen world. We are fighting against powers which are not seen. We usually think that the person whom we are fighting or our enemy is made up of flesh and bone. But that is not the case. He says there is an unseen realm, the spiritual realm, and different dimension where the battle is happening, and we have a fight against them, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. This is from Ephesians, the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12. He goes on to say, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he does not exist. I think this came also in a very famous movie. Quote, which movie was this? Satan is your unseen enemy. His mission is to steal, kill, and destroy. Satan is a deceiver. There is no truth in him. And here is what Pastor is saying. Those days can be over. Those days where your mind is stuck inside a self-made prison can be over, and that is your call. A generational lie. He explains what a generational lie is. By this book, it's pretty interesting. For the first chapter it is. He talks about a generational lie which is passing on through years, decades. Lies which have been told to us, and lies which we have been so ingrained into that we are not able to come out of those lies. Sometimes certain traditions are also lies. So, yes, a lie believed as a truth will affect your life as if it were true. What is a faithless life? This is another question that he addresses. A faithless life, a life without faith, without a belief system. He's not talking about religion. He's not talking about Christians per se, Christianity per se. He's talking about human beings. What I know is true and what is true is the point of this book. And he comes to giving a solution, and he describes his solution. He tries to explain these presents. He says these presents made him feel that he is fake. The self-made prison that he was in made him feel that he was fake, that he was defective, that he was stupid, that he was lame, he was inadequate, he wasn't good enough, he was failing. And that's exactly what the self-made prison had put him in. So, but then a strange thing happened. You are not who others say you are who I, means God here, you are who I say you are, and I say you are wonderful and marvelous. We should go deeper into this, allowing God to master our minds. And then he has a beautiful passage about lie detection at the finishing this chapter. I just want to read few things. When legendary magician Harry Houdini came into a town to do his show, he often went to the local jail, gathering a crowd of people along the way. To get buzz going about his upcoming performance, he asked the jailer to lock him in a cell. Time after time, jail after jail, town after town, Houdini escaped within minutes. But there was one point Houdini didn't escape. He was not able to escape. This magician, this master trickster was not able to escape from the jail. You know why? Because the jailer did not close the door, and Houdini did not know that. Houdini was always under the impression that the door was locked. All right. So he leaves us with a question: what lies are we believing in? What are the things that we are saying, I can't do this? So this is chapter 1. This is just chapter 1. I will quickly dive into chapter 2 as well, because I've finished that as well too. So here he talks about Apostle Paul. The battle for your life is won or lost in your mind. I'm not pointing to the brain, it's in your mind. Your thoughts will control you, so you have to control your thoughts. Apostle Paul had learned a secret. What is that secret? And he says that we captivate every thought that we get. Let's assume it might be a discouraging thought, it might be a demeaning thought, it can be an oppressive, a violent, and an offensive thought. He says, take it and bring it to Jesus. Talk to Jesus about it. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 3 and 5. And then he goes on to say, we long for more and we settle for less. because of the battle that is engaged in our mind. And he encourages us. Pastor Craig says, move on, engage. 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a thought war. I am going to fight a battle, and that is what mental and emotional strongholds. And then he talks about some Greek words. You should go for the second chapter as well. And then he goes, one who is wise can go up against the city of the mighty and pull down the stronghold, that power which is holding it strong, in which they trust. So one who is wise, are you wise? So you have to bring down that stronghold, because the battle is happening within your mind. You cannot defeat what you cannot define. We haven't gotten to the root of the problem, the lies we believe. You don't have what it takes to win the war, neither do I. And that is why we have the power of Christ in us, the Holy Spirit. Don't give up, he says, look up. Don't give up, but rather look up. So look up, go up and access the power God has, that you need to remove the lies and replace them with the truth. So this is the summary of the first as well as the second chapters. I will be giving you much more summaries. This is quite an interesting book. The name of the book is Winning the War in Your Mind by Pastor Craig Groeschel. You can buy it, otherwise you can just hear me out in these summaries. God bless. I hope you enjoyed.